Welcome to Speaking in Spoons with your host, Christina Brookman.
Hi, welcome to Speaking in Spoons, a chronically ill podcast. We are back with a follow-up episode to Ripple Effects' new hardcover edition that we had previously with Barbara Dillon of Fan Base Press and the creator of Ripple Effects, Jordan Hart. Also with me is our new panel of Spoonies. Very excited to have you join the Speaking in Spoons team. I'm going to go around and this is our first episode together. So we're going to go around and let you introduce yourselves to the audience. Rachel, I'm going to start with you.
Great. Hi, everybody. I'm Rachel Latremore, and I am videoing in from New York. I have fibromyalgia and lupus, SLE, and vestibular migraines, along with cervical and cervical spine and lower lumbar spine injuries. So I'm commenting based on my experience with my ailments today and glad y'all are here.
Thank you, Rachel. Um, Joseph, I'm going to swing around to you.
Yeah, hi. I'm Joseph Albert. I'm a disability advocate. I'm currently in Arlington, Virginia. I have a diagnosis of autism and also diabetes. I also experience, I also have diagnosis of PTSD. And I do whatever I can to just be in the community and help out anywhere, any way I can.
Thank you, Joseph. And Josh, on to you. I think I've known you the longest.
Woo! I'm Josh Lamm. I'm here in Richmond. If you've been listening to the podcast or watched it, you've probably either heard me or seen me already on here. Um, I have been living in chronic pain since 2006. I've had two lower lumbar fusions, and after both of those, and during this whole time, the pain was nice enough to um, leave me with the struggle of depression and anxiety. So I volunteer and do work for mental health because I realize how important it is for you to create your own mental health and how uh, I guess society is lacking in training and awareness for mental illnesses.
Very true. I'm so excited to have you guys on here. Um, you're people that I talk to a lot about these issues. And I'm just thrilled to have you on here for our listeners and viewers to so they can hear your perspectives as well because you're all passionate about advocacy and helping others and you have your own lived experiences and we have like such a variety. Um I just realized I should probably share my own in case we have new people. Um, I'm Christina. Joseph's nodding. I'm
Yeah.
Christina Brookman. Um, I have Ehlers-Danlos hypermobile type POTS, Sjogren's disease, MUMS migraines, which are like hemiplegic migraines. And they also are, I'm currently being tested for mitochondrial disease. So I relate to a lot of things that you guys have been saying, particularly in regards to fatigue, pain, and brain scramble, which we talked about earlier. How many times did I have to just do the intro? Um,
wasn't that much. It was
It
only
It's
wasn't
only like
no.
7, 8 times, something
Well,
like
that's
that. No
me. That was
biggie.
just
only
7 or 8.
only 3.
I
It was
mean,
only
let's
Thanks,
be
3.
honest. That's our
thanks,
normal.
Josh.
Yeah, that's our normal.
I
It's
think it
all
was
good.
only 3. It
What's
was
the problem with the world, Josh? Okay. So Uh, let's get talking about ripple effects. So we got to interview the team with Ripple Effects last year with their original, and you all have received a copy of the updated version for the hardcover. And I just want to say there's one passage that I tried to write down, but my handwriting no longer works. So I saved it and I wanted to share because I wanted to one of the things that I loved so much about this graphic novel was the inclusion of essays of people with lived chronic illness and disability that were incorporated into the different chapters so seamlessly. And there was this lady that wrote her about chronic fatigue syndrome
Mm.
and which can be very similar to fibromyalgia, which we both, I forgot, I have fibro. Yeah, we're like twins in there. Um, I love this where she says, if you met me on the street, ask for help in the library, or join me for a drink at the bar, there is little chance you would notice that I'm in pain. And that just struck me so much because,
But I
oh,
liked that it struck you too because it's literally the first thing that struck me. I reading that, it just like I got teary eyed. I'm not gonna even lie. Before I even got into the first comic, I had like a little mist in my eyes. I can't even lie. This essay was incredible, and I felt it. I feel the same way so often. So I'm glad you brought it up first out the gate.
yeah, I thought it might connect a lot to you, and I was just curious what you all thought of that. Maybe that comment or that essay or other essays.
Well,
And yeah,
I'll say, well, you and I both have a creative performance background,
right.
and something that has been ingrained in me since I was 3 years old is the show must go on.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I've literally been trained to just put a smile on my face and, hunker down, ignore the pain, and perform.
Fake it till
And
you make it.
yeah, and that's, when I'm in public, the smile that you see, that's often not really how I'm feeling.
Yeah, exactly. I love that because so often I'll hear, but it's that goes back to that, well, you don't look sick. um, that's so strong with invisible disabilities. And I think that's really what I loved about this one too, is their focus on a lot of invisible disabilities because I think using graphic medicine, which I didn't even know was a genre, is such a powerful way to do that. Um, and I think they did so successfully. Like I wrote down that the dialogue and the artwork kind of was able to express the experience of what the character was feeling or experiencing. Like um when they would have like drops that were dialogue or thoughts, but they did it in a drop way or a spin way. And it's like that reminds me of how I feel with my migraines or my blood pressure, where the room's spinning and all of this stuff, or the chaos with anxiety where you're so overwhelmed. It very reminiscent of Hitchcock, in a way of like,
That's
yeah,
exactly what I thought. I
yeah.
thought of
Oh,
what is
cool.
that movie? I
Oh,
actually
yeah.
couldn't watch
Vertigo.
it. I had Vertigo. I actually
Yes.
remember we watched that, and I could at school, and I couldn't watch it. It like
Yeah.
made me sick, like because of just how intense of that film. And actually some of those I forgot the name of his art style. I had looked it up, and it's here. Don't quote me up. I think it's here. Uh, it's somewhere, but basically, here we go. It's art style is modern and dynamic, but he has a clarity and expressiveness. Um, and something that I think is really true, as you were talking about, is just the use of the color palette kind of changes with the moments of the scenes.
Yeah.
The moments of his emotions, the moments of how he's feeling, but also what he's going through.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, it was an excellent point to mention there, just building
Thank
off of what
you.
you're saying. Yep.
Well, I love that when you went further into describing the expressive, because I think that's the artness as expressive, because it is, and I think that's what makes this connect so well, because it's helping express to able-bodied people what people with disabilities experience, the word and the art together. But it also, like, how we're so connected with the essays, but also like the characters and stuff. Um, and my brain just went dead.
Mm.
But it's also helping people with disabilities feel validated and not alone. Um,
Yeah, and to kind of build off what you were talking about, with, with both of you, all of you kind of talking about, the invisible aspect. One question that kind of stuck into my mind is how much of what is accepted as a disability, which is physical and seen, and is more caused by our own system that we have in
yes.
place. The systematic elements that cause a lot of pressure on us to ask, well, is that person really disabled? Or are they just kind of,
Thinking it.
trying to get some free stuff? And I think what's interesting is he shows the pressure on families, the monetary pressure,
Yeah.
and the fact that this family's kind of just going, well, we're going to go off the edge of a cliff, basically financially,
Yeah.
and there's nothing much we can do. So that's kind of also a whole thing, and I wonder if anyone else thinks that the such small amount of funding for people with disabilities for healthcare causes people to kind of start going, oh, well, you don't need those resources. I mean, you know, Tom over there, I mean, he's in a wheelchair, he does, but you look okay. And yeah, go ahead.
I call that like measuring our pain experience.
Yeah.
But also, I would like to point out that I believe every human being has some sort of invisible ailment. We're not, none of us are perfect mentally, physically.
Mhm.
And every human being walks around with something that's invisible to the outside world. And like you stated, that it's almost about the systematic issue in how we look at other people. And also, I think somewhere down the road, we lost like taking accountability for our words towards other people that we don't know, and just grouping, like you said, just, oh, they're just trying to get something for free. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know when it became okay to talk about people that we don't even know like that, and already making them the bad guy, which is the biggest takeaway I took was that I liked that the superheroes were the ones that were the disabled and not the villain,
Yeah.
because we're villainized so much just because of the lack of understanding.
Although, like, who is it in, which I totally agree with you, and I actually wrote that down too, Rachel, about
Oh,
the superhero versus the villain. That's why I like what's his name so much from, uh Xavier, Professor X, but he's like the only one that I can think of, and I'm sure there's others. But this was also a very palpable disability in that, going back to kind of what both of you were saying, Rachel, you said that everybody has some kind of invisible illness, but does everybody have a condition that's invisible that prohibits them from being able to function, take care of themselves, or work? And a lot of people go, well, I have so and so condition and I'm fine. So they don't realize, and they also seem to think there's like massive fraud going on and that there's also tons of money to be had. As someone on
Yeah,
disability, there is there's not a lot of money. You live in poverty. I currently live in HUD housing, like right by one of the worst like projects in my city. Um, People couldn't be nicer here, but but there
Right.
isn't that money. Um, and also, uh, what was I gonna say? There's also a very low statistic of fraud. Like I think in one of the episodes about that we did where we had a federal court appeals like lawyer on for Social Security, and she said it's like 1% is the statistic for fraud, and it's not people committing fraud for themselves, it's family members continuing to cash checks once someone has died, you know? So this whole huge fraud thing, and people are taking advantage of the system or taking advantage of your taxes, um, is just not true.
yeah, you're so right. And going through disability, the whole system set up for to make you want to quit the whole entire
Yeah,
time. It is
yeah,
not it is not easy
no,
process.
no.
I
Um,
think though what people may be responding to, and I know Christina and I have talked a bit about this in the past, quite and sometimes I've gotten quite, emotional about it, is that it's a process that is uh incredibly um I think focused on um it's a very convoluted process. It's a very restrictive process, and it's a very confusing process in the sense that on the scope of it, like with disability, when you read about, it says if you can't work, right? And so
yeah,
someone thinks, oh, okay, well then you can't work. But there's so much more to that, right? Just as any issue is, right? That you can, some people can work, to a certain amount. Some people, there's all these other cases, as we know.
yeah,
And I think there's, once again, misinformation out there. There's thing. And getting back to the main part here, you see that with George. You see that in his navigating, this kind of healthcare,
yeah,
system with this, you see that. And I think that's also, and I wonder maybe, and I don't remember, but using that, superhero uh metaphor, you kind of have to be a superhero, it feels like, or use superhuman or super brain strength just to understand a lot of this stuff.
yeah. And fake
Um,
it till you make it. I
and I,
think it's also they expect you to have family that can or are willing to. And like his family is not that they're not willing to, but it's breaking them. Was that you that said that earlier? Yeah. But there are also people that don't even have the family
Mhm.
or have family that are willing to or are capable financially or, age-wise, cognitively, ability themselves.
Yeah.
Because it is
There's
such a convoluted process. Or
Yeah,
can.
there's people like me who I first applied for disability 3 years ago. And, you know, I'm in the appeals process right now. I have an attorney and I still have no clue what's going on. And it's been 3 years of this. And that's what makes me almost laugh when people are like, oh my gosh, all the fraud. And I'm like, you don't understand how difficult it is just to get minimal resources. Like you said, Christina, you're in a HUD home. And here I am 3 years later. I, luckily enough, have friends that have provided housing for me because my family's not capable. I mean, yeah, when you said that they expect you to have family that can take care of you, that is nail on the head. Family or a spouse. Well, hello. I mean, what about the millions of people that don't have that?
Yeah. Or
Can't
yeah.
get married.
Oh, I was just saying to bring it back to the book that this is the unseen ripples that, most
Yeah.
people don't realize.
Yeah.
These go into managing healthcare, managing your own doctors, and getting back to the main point, it can really put someone on, get them exhausted, get them tired,
Yeah.
make, cause flare-ups. And a lot of times the treatments for these, conditions is to rest, is to not overexert yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and some of these, disabilities folks have can affect their communication. It can affect, their mobility. So, these things are not keeping in mind the people that they're supposed to serve. The only thing
Yeah.
that they're keeping in mind, frankly, is protecting their own agency.
Mhm.
And a lot of our institutions now these days, that's their main goal, is because they've just become really big and underfunded.
Very underfunded. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was such a good point. And but Christina, I know you say quite often that being disabled is a full-time job. And and also the the government in your home and in your relationship, it's also a way for them to pass the buck, like Joseph said earlier. The system, they think that, or Christina, you said it, that there's got to be somebody that can take care of you
Yeah. I actually
other than
got
us.
denied nursing care not because I didn't qualify once, be or they were going to deny it, but because my mom or like I didn't have like my dad is in another city and they're both elderly and have their own medical conditions, so I didn't have anybody that could actively be kind of backup, and they require that you have backup for when you don't have for when there isn't a nurse because they don't have a funding to have just nurses that sit around the office, and if someone calls out because their child's sick, which is inevitable, or they're sick, they can't just send you a nurse. So I almost lost care because that, and I I cannot live without my care. And I think what's great about him choosing the a character with diabetes specifically is it's a great example to talk about the cost of medication, particularly because this character has a chronic severe illness. Um, that has not gotten or made him to the point of being like federally disabled, but it's disabling him in his life. And it is a disability. It's a chronic illness, an invisible disability illness. And the medicines for diabetes can be so expensive. And I think, tell me if I'm wrong, that they started uh um I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, that they done a law for in for insulin.
Yeah. Um, it's um it's confusing. So it's in 2022, President Biden, this is from an independent source for health policy polling and news, KFF, signed law, the Inflation Reduction Act. It had a provision that requires all Part D plans to charge no more than $35 a month for all, and this is important, covered insulin products, and also limits cost sharing for insulin covered under Part B to $35 a month per month. Deductibles no longer apply to insulin under Part D or Part B. These provisions took effect in 2023. Now, this is different than what the Trump administration did, which was in 2020, the administration established a voluntary time-limited model under for Medicare and Medicaid, known as Part D Senior Savings model. And under this model, the participating Medicare Part D prescription drug plans covered at least one of each dosage form and type of insulin product at no more than $35 a month. And this model was in effect from 2021 through 2023, and less than half of all Part D plans chose to participate in each year. So the difference basically is that Biden's covers all Medicare Part D plans. All insulins are covered by a Part D plan. And then insulin is covered under Part D and Part B under Biden's.
Okay.
So hopefully that helps a bit.
Yeah.
But there is still, I know, there's now, I think, a whole thing with CVS and what is it called?
Walgreens?
Yeah, there's a lawsuit, I think. Hold on, or something. So
Yeah,
sorry.
Pay rate. It's okay.
Um,
I love that things like this start conversations. I think is
yes,
more what I'm
so
getting at, that get laws to happen. Yeah.
So CVS, this was October 9th, 2024 on Reuters. CVS, United Health, Cigna. So they ironically are asking the FTC chair to recuse herself. But in this article, the case here is accusing the FTC lawsuit has accused the companies of unlawfully inflating insulin prices. And that's a huge part that's usually forgotten, is
Yeah.
that Lilly and these other companies are a huge part of it. But the big, big price gougers are these CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, all these, so yeah. And that's something that I experienced when I went to ketoacidosis. It was a tough thing for me to read with some of those parts. And the price, that was the biggest shock. My dad coming home with the insulin, and I think it was around, without insurance, like $3,500 for a 90-day supply. I mean, it was just astronomical.
yeah.
So there's immense fear that you
Yeah.
have, not knowing you have to have that pen with you. And there's just immense fear if you don't have that pen. Uh, you know, so I absolutely relate to that.
Yeah. I think the the whole big pharma thing and price gouging and all of that is just all it's doing is killing more Americans. And when we can't afford our medications, you know, that's not only our physical health, it's our mental health because it's that constant worry of, okay, I was able to afford it this month, but like, what about next month if all of a sudden, we have a new president or there's a new lawsuit or whatever? It's the constant not knowing because everything is just so haphazard when it comes to our medications. And I've traveled the world, back when I was able bodied and remember walking into, a pharmacy in Greece and telling them my symptoms and them just, handing me a Z pack. And because I had a sinus infection. And it's like seeing how much trust other countries have in their pharmacists and their doctors really changed,
Hmm.
How I think about the American medical system in general.
What do you think, Josh? I mean, do you think that could affect mental health too in any way, or
Oh,
what are your thoughts?
100%. I know just going through disability myself, uh, it just creates so much depression and anxiety, the fear of whether or not you can afford your medicine this month or next month, like Rachel brought up. I mean, there's been times where I've had to have that conversation with myself, like, oh, do I have enough? Is it worth it this month to get the medicine this month, or should I just try to do it without it? That creates all kinds of anxiety inside of you.
I'm in that boat right now. I've got 3 prescriptions sitting in my cart and I'm trying to figure out which one I can afford right now and what kind of effect it's going to have on me next week, sort of thing. So sorry to interrupt, but yeah,
No, these are real
I'm there
things.
right now. Yeah.
I
These are
think,
the unseen ripples that, no one else talks about. And.
Yeah.
and I like that you keep going back to that unseen ripples, like going back
Unseen
to
ripples.
that.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, because like I think one of like an unseen element that I really appreciated and was the referencing like with the needles, like where it was like only he could get it in. One of the things when you go through ketoacidosis, they have to do is they have to like take blood every 30 minutes. At least for me, they did. And the amount of times, because you're so dehydrated, they can't take any blood. They can't get anything out. And the amount of times they stick you, it kind of felt like sometimes they couldn't get the needle in my skin
Yeah.
because my skin was also dehydrated, so it's dried out. So I don't know if that was one of the reasons. I don't remember. It was a week since I've seen the video. But with that, it just kind of made me think because I remember like then when I had to start injecting myself in that, it's really easy. But like when they did it, it just didn't feel right.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I
So,
relate I'm not having to inject. I used to have to do my own portal
mhm.
for infusions and
Yeah.
I had a funky port and I they finally taught me and I could always get it because I could feel like it was in my body and I could feel it. But then I started having trouble with my right hand. Um, but I have problems with my veins because they always have to get a vein finder. So it's like every time I go for infusions, like anything like that, or they're like, oh, we need to do another round of blood work. And with pain medicine, if you're in a pain clinic, you have to get your blood drawn, or and pee in a cup and do all this stuff, which I totally understand and respect. But if you're someone who has crappy veins, that's difficult. Um, and there is that fear, is this time gonna hurt? Like I've had bruises all up my arms. I've
I
had
had.
them
Yeah,
bust the veins. I have all of that stuff, and it's just like I
it's
just have to
awful.
talk myself through it, breathe, make nice with the nurse. I It hasn't hurt that my current infusion nurse is very good looking. Um so I just announce to my friends every time I go for an infusion, it's hot nurse day. Not that he has any idea or anything like
Hey, listen, we gotta
it,
have
just
things
makes me
to look
laugh.
Well,
forward to.
isn't
Sometimes it's
this
the
going on
small things
YouTube?
that get you there. You know,
Wait,
if
but
that's helped get you there.
Yeah,
isn't this going on YouTube?
yes. Well,
So,
so I'll just give him my card and be like, "Hey, check out the latest episode."
yeah.
Hey, listen,
Hey, hot nurse.
yeah, uh, during
Hot
chemical
nurse.
psychosis,
Hot nurse.
during chemical psychosis, I saw my pain doctor, and I mean, it wasn't him. It was, a random nurse, but I made totally inappropriate comments. But then I was like, well, it doesn't hurt when your medical provider is easy on the eyes.
Oh, Rachel, you
Small
make me
wins.
laugh. I did want to talk one of my I don't know how I'm segueing from
Yeah, segue from that.
uh
How
segueing
do you?
from
Yeah.
hot nurses and doctors to the next section. This might seem
We
odd.
apologize to the medical community.
I have a little note at the
Please do
bottom.
not file any harassment claims against us.
We do not believe in yeah.
Sorry.
I can't find my words today. It's getting
Well, I'm
really
not helping.
bad. And this was
I'm
a
totally
oh no,
distracted
not
here.
that. Just grasping
Mhm.
and the stuttering
Of
has
course.
gotten bad. But hey, now I stutter. It's the new me. Um, but what I loved in that they added to this new hardcover edition that they didn't have before was where they selected kids with disabilities, and had them draw a version of a superhero for themselves. And then they got to have a professional graphic artist re-envision their vision to like a professional rendering that they could always keep. And that just was so special and touching because um, you know, kids go through all that we go through too, and they're kids. So to have something where they're being validated for their feelings, they're getting to kind of envision things that you might think of as, you know, the part of the disability, turning it into something that is actually a superhero power, or something else, or just disregarding that and say, this is me, an expression of themselves. I just can't imagine what an empowering moment that was for them. Um, and that for me made this an even more special project, and like add in all of the school guides, like the study guides, and they're working with libraries and schools, they're donating copies. Um so uh, and they worked with professional people to create these study guides, so they're taking them serious, and I thought they were done really well. And I just anybody have any thoughts on those things?
I just think this is like the perfect like comic to read to your kids, like a bedtime story,
Yeah.
because you know, like the unseen ripples, like each one of those is so good that's like you could, if you don't want to read that to your kid, it's perfectly fine. And then, mom or dad could have their little section that they read by themselves after they read the
Yeah.
comic.
Yeah.
I just think it's so cool. And I love that they put the little pin pocket in his uniform that they
Yeah.
made him.
That was so special. It like
They took the
clickable.
time to point it out too. That's what I like.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, thank you. I love the idea of it being for children too and a family moment because if we teach at a young age that disabled people aren't wrong or bad, then
Mhm.
they'll have but so it's not just for kids with disabilities, it's kids that are able-bodied. Will the future generation will treat people with disabilities, invisible illnesses, chronic illnesses. Like if you were reading it with your son, like when he was younger, like what would you focus most on, do you think, Josh? Like the ripple idea?
Maybe not when he was younger, but now, yeah. Like
Yeah.
he's next up. Once I finish, I think I got two chapters left, I think, and then my son's gonna start reading it himself.
Oh, cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
because
Of it.
comics was like big for him growing up. Like
Yeah.
one of his walls was painted as Gotham City. It was like the skyline of Gotham City was one of the
Yeah.
walls in his room when he was
Oh,
little.
that's cool.
That and I have Baby Hulk.
That was kind of a cool effect when you did that. He
It lit
turned
up.
into a
Yeah,
space.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, he
saw
lit
Yeah,
up
that.
there.
that's when you don't want to make him angry.
Yeah.
So growing up, I was thinking about when I was a kid, learning about, just people that were different than me
Yeah.
and what, my parents said about it or whatever. And I remember being a bratty teenager and making a comment about something, I guess, like some girl was wearing, just something just really bratty. And my dad said, you know, if somebody said that about you, it would break my heart. And I was like, well, like, why? I was just talking about her shirt or something stupid like that. And he said, well, you're my entire world. And that little girl is somebody else's entire world. And every human being is somebody else's entire world. And we should look at people that way and treat them that way. And that literally has stuck with me my whole life. I try to just look at other people like they're somebody else's entire world and
Yeah.
think about the impact of my words on somebody as sweet and wonderful as my departed dad.
I think that's a wonderful uh yeah, I mean it's a wonderful story and experience you just shared. I think it's I think we I think one of the things it reminds me of, and it's something that I said, it's kind of my motto I try to live by, which is it's Mr. Rogers, he had a apparently a note that he would carry around in his pocket. And it was given to him by a social worker. And so maybe that's why I like it. But it said, it read, frankly, there isn't anyone you couldn't learn to love once you've heard their story.
Mm,
Mm.
And
I love that.
it, yeah. And I think in a way I think what your dad was kind of saying.
Yeah.
He knows your experiences is your story, and there's a connection. Because whenever you hear someone's story and experience and that, there's a connection immediately. No matter what, you're going to think about them, even if you don't like their story or what they did or something. You're going to think at the end of the day, that guy, was really, that guy at work I met and I, talked to, and I saw he was rude to that person later on. I didn't like what he did, but you think about them. You think about, and I think that's what we tend to lose. And I mean, like that moment you mentioned with the little pocket in
Yeah.
with the thing, it shows it's the small things, that connect us. And I think that was a really big element there. You don't have to sometimes do these really big gestures like paying off someone's, maybe I think we should, government wise, but sometimes, but paying off people's debt or, preventing, sometimes it is making sure people have the right accommodations, just listening to them, seeing that they're a human being,
Yeah. I
that's my speech.
I no, I thank you so much for sharing that. And I know Barbara and Bryant Dillon, the creators of Fanbase Plus, will be especially tickled because we all went to a college in Pittsburgh where Mr. Rogers was. So he's like a huge, very famous to the
Yeah.
Yinzers, um,
Yeah.
and beloved. But also, I think it's such a great way to show what Jordan Hart did when he created this, because maybe he wasn't at a place of sharing his personal story in that way, but this is his way of sharing it, for the world to share what his community, our community, exists, and also do it in a way that is palpable, that is, because it's using um a diagnosis that maybe more people are familiar with, but just because they're familiar with it doesn't mean know they really know all of the ins and outs of it. And then, okay, we're going to throw these essays in here too and have other superheroes and other, with their battling their own stuff and all of that kind of stuff. So, and he's talking about doing like a whole, like how Marvel has done its whole, universe, kind of doing that with him. And I keep being like, well, you need to have a zebra. Here's the conditions you need to have. So, I want to go around with us before we end. Say first, if you were a superhero, what power would be you and what would you want? Are they the same? And then I'll have one more thing. Okay. Anybody want to go first?
I'll go first. Mine's easy. I already showed it to you. I, I'm
Super
kind
strength.
of, yeah, I kind of already got it a little bit, but
You're like Teddy Holt.
yeah, kind of. Until you make
Yeah.
me angry.
Until you make me angry. Okay,
Yeah.
I like it. Um, and Joseph,
But
what power would you want in this world if you could have a
I
power? That's what it comes
well,
down
see,
to.
I don't think, frankly, I don't. Who is right to give me that power unchecked? That's all I can say. But anyway, so I'm sorry.
I
I
think
mean,
you're
did
being too
a
cruel to
group,
yourself.
did the people vote and
We
give me this
voted, the
power?
panel of Spoonies voted, and we're
Yeah.
giving you this power.
Okay, and how
It's
am I
okay.
kept
You
in
can
check to
have
be
it.
responsible? Okay, sorry. So I guess my thing would be maybe to just say okay, something that would say the right thing at the right time. That would be my power, to just know when to be quiet at the right time and say the right thing at the right time, so I won't get into
Okay.
trouble. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
Or fly. We'll do that. That one's
You
easy.
can have both.
I mean, you're
The
already in outer
United
space,
States has
so
voted, the people have
Right. Oh, no,
voted.
no, no, no. That's what I want. I want super intelligence. No, no, no. So I can create space travel so I can, leave when things go south, you know, whatever that may be. I don't know. Could be if power goes out. That may be enough for me to wanna.
Okay.
to the moon.
To the moon. What was that saying?
To
To the
infinity and
moon?
beyond.
Yeah, no, there's that, but there's also to the moon, Alice. I'll punch you to the my brain.
Straight to the
Rachel,
moon, Alice.
yes.
Oh
Thank
yeah,
you.
domestic violence was such a
Right? Cheer it
comic.
now.
We're gonna
So
cut that
funny.
bit out, right? Because I don't want to be seen making fun of domestic.
No, but it was very satirical. I think people
Oh,
get,
yes, I was
yeah,
joking.
you were joking.
I was serious. Not funny, folks.
Not funny.
No.
Um, Rachel, your thoughts?
Sure. I think I would be a ladybug because I don't know. I love ladybugs. They're lucky. That was my nickname growing up. And I would want, I don't know, I'd want like the ultimate BS meter that I would, be able to like decipher the truth from, fact or fiction or whatever. And I don't know, to give everybody empathy would be
Oh,
an amazing
superpower.
superpower.
That's
I like
cool.
that one.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
was
that's a pretty
gonna
good
say
one.
that the truth thing is already existence. I mean, that's Fox News. You're just watching the wrong news channel.
Oh, if you only knew the conversation I had about 4 hours earlier. Thank you for that laugh.
I'm sorry, Christina.
No,
It slipped out. It
why?
just
Don't be sorry.
I needed that chuckle.
Yeah, and the listeners need some laughter too.
But wouldn't it be amazing if we all had the magical ability to decipher between fact or
oh
fiction?
yeah.
Yes. And to grant others empathy
Yeah, I don't know.
or
Just,
understanding. I like that one.
oh, I don't know. I think if we, like, I think Joseph said, or I don't know who said it, but when we know, or Mr. Rogers said it, when we know someone's story, it's much harder to dislike them and
Yeah,
care about them.
yeah.
I think it was a letter he had from a social
From the
worker. I
social
think this,
worker.
yeah.
Okay.
Let's give the social workers some credit. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
They never get credit. No, I'm
social
just kidding.
worker.
They get no.
Yeah.
Just,
Um,
But I'm
yeah.
going to find it through
I
Mr.
mean,
Rogers, so that's fine.
yeah, lots of shout out
Wait,
to Mr. Rogers.
what's your
Um,
superpower, Christina?
Yeah, she didn't give hers yet.
Yeah.
thank you. I actually got a little, I was slow because I was kind of tearing up because I was like, this is, uh, well, I mean, there's kind of an obvious one. I would like to fly. A,
Mhm.
because I think that for me, it's like driving, it's like freedom, and I can't drive anymore because of the
Mhm.
weakness in my right leg and the paralysis. So, I to be in control of where I go and when I go somewhere, kind of have that independence back.
Yeah.
But I would really also love to be able to talk like I used to again and think like not have maybe I'm thinking super cures where I get like an injection. It's like, damn, this is your superpower. But really, I guess maybe I just want to come to terms with not, I'm in a new grieving process of, I mean, I've had to cancel interviews and stuff because I literally can't um get the intro out there because I keep stuttering and losing it and then I just have to say I'm sorry, we'll reschedule and it's humiliating, but it's also that's where I'm at. And but I'd love a superhero power that could just fix it in that just that hour that I record, so that we could get the important information out there to people.
I
Yeah.
if I could just build off really quickly what you're saying. I think
Please.
superheroes and what we're talking about and then why they're so popular, I think, in this country is they really envelop the image of freedom,
Yes.
and what you're talking about, you mentioned, I think kind of envelops the image of being free, and it reminds me of Nina Simone's song, "I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free."
Mhm.
And I always love this part of the line, which is, "I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart, remove all the bars that keep us apart. I wish you could know what it means to be me. Then you see and agree that every man should be free." Um, and it goes into, it's more about civil rights, of course, but civil rights
Yeah,
as well for everyone. And so it's a wonderful song, beautiful song. But I think that's what stuff is all about. Even that, it's about freedom. It's
it's
at the
freedom.
core of who we are
Yeah.
as people, the human
And
race.
independence, which is,
Yeah.
and freedom.
And something you
So,
touched on, Christina, is something that I had to do too. Is like I had to go through like my own grieving process.
yeah.
Like I say that like I had to mourn who I thought I was going to be.
Yep. And then, yeah, and that's something, it's weird. It's just I'm doing it again. But I think that's what happens with chronic illness is like I had already done this, but my illness is progressing. So I'm having newer symptoms and they're becoming progressive and progressive. So it's like you're constantly checking in with yourself about the grieving process. Like you said, like you're talking about grieving that person that you were, and that if this is something that is new, and grieving the future that you had planned for or wanted. And then I even, I've got this future that I've created, but I'm running into, issues there because of my health. That I'm like, this gonna get better, but it's frustrating because I want to help others. Like I love how you thought about using your power in a way to like if I could remove pain from people, like physical or mental, you know, pain's just awful. In whether is that physical or emotional or both, And a lot of times it's both.
I think
They're connected.
senseless, yeah, useless,
Yeah,
like pain that's, I know the Europeans, they have a very different view on pain,
yeah,
that with health and that it can help the person, as they're recovering, it can be a way to determine how they're recovering.
yeah.
Um, but it's uh I think when it's senseless, when it's just nonstop and it's just digging
Never
in, and
ending. Yeah.
yeah, that's when it, and I think yeah. So I'm sorry if I wasn't trying to dismiss your experience there, but
You're not at
I
all.
think
You're adding to
sometimes,
it.
yeah, and I think a lot of times doctors get those confused
Yeah.
when they hear pain. They think, oh, well, there's pain that's healing pain. There's pain that's pain that is progressive and we want to, and then there's pain that's just senseless and cruel and can really just tear a person down.
Well,
Um, yeah.
it's that there are so many, it's like those scales of pain, or I mean, you talk to anybody in chronic pain, we just laugh because
Well,
there's
they were
so
created
many.
by, weren't they created by, what's their name? Uh, wasn't that the rumor? It was created by Purdue. It was
I
pain.
would be
Well,
surprised. There's
somebody
some
not
kind of
in pain,
insurance,
I can tell you that.
somebody that doesn't understand pain. Because it's like there's so many different kinds of pain. So when they do the scale, I'm like, well, are you talking about my muscle skeletal? Are you talking about my nerve pain? Are you talking about like my skeleton, like what my joint pain? What are you talking about? Because they're all different. They feel all different. Today, they are all at different levels. So what would you like? Um, and they
Exactly.
never let me do that. They always want one. And I'm like, so I'm doing the average? I just go with the highest because that's what's affecting me the most.
So the pain scale was created by apparently Dr. Melzack and Warren Torgerson in 1975, but that was like 1 through 20. There's all this stuff.
Lobotomies were also created by a doctor, though. Sometimes there's times for things to move on, you know? I
Exactly.
Yeah,
think that is it is
do not
time.
quote me on that with the faces. I was told I could be totally
No,
wrong on that. There's the
no.
rumor, and
I
I
think
don't
there's
want
a
to be
better
misinformed.
one that a PT created. Don't quote me on that. I have to figure out who did it, but it actually gives like, oh, at this number, these are the effects at that number. Like you won't be able to do anything. You
Oh,
have
that's
to
so much
stay
better.
home.
Yeah,
And I'm like, why is this not the one that's everywhere?
yeah.
Because the frowny face to smiley face is ridiculous. And then like what face are you? Well, when you asked me that question, my face just changed to a frown
Mm.
because you're not going to understand. And that's a
Yeah.
big thing too. Like a 6'2" someone who's not in pain all the time is, pretty bad. But if you're in pain all the time and it's a 6 or 7, then that's just your normal.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. And I reserve using a 10 because I've been at a 10. And so like I know a 10, but like so that's why they're usually like, oh, they're really not. Although I've recently found people they're treated me long enough, they're like, oh no, you're in pain. But everybody responds to pain differently too. Like people
Yeah.
know I'm really bad when I stop talking. Like if I shut up, it's like, oh, Christina's in some pain. But
Yeah,
oh, I wanted to one last thing before we end the episode. Um, what disorder or kind of character, superhero or villain, would you like to see represented in edition number 2?
Ooh,
Josh?
he could do somebody um who has chronic back pain like me and make it a villain. He can make me a villain if he wants.
You want
Hit
to
me
be a
up.
villain?
Yeah.
Hit me
You can
up.
see this side. Ah, the angry side. He can do my
Angry
angry
side.
side.
Well, it'd be cool
Marvel
too to
Marvel
have
may
different
have
there's a
some
hero and you're
questions.
a villain. Like you have different sides too, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely you don't want to see me angry side. That's for
Yeah,
sure, 100%.
because there's
But
no, then that represents pain too. When you're in the
yeah, when
moment of
you're in a lot of
pain,
pain, your
you
fuse
ang
is so short. Oh,
yeah, exactly. Um,
you don't want to hear
I've
people talk sometimes.
Yeah,
Just people's voices is just like, why are you talking?
uh, Joseph, you had
yeah,
something to say?
yeah. I mean, that's exactly. I mean, with my experience with pain, with neuropathy, severe neuropathy at the beginning after my ketoacidosis, and that it was. I mean, that's exactly my experience. Was like, why are you talking? Why, like, and then also like recently, experience with just some other stuff, just keeping balanced, just did not realize how much like being balanced, like, and I mean like physical balance, so like your blood pressure, that
Yeah.
really affects
Yes.
your ability just to like it's not so much like anger, it's more of like tone. Just,
Yeah.
you kind of go like someone says good morning, you're like, good morning. Oh, I'm sorry. What? Let me eat something before I, fall over. So that does wake other people up. You know, but I do appreciate that because I think that is always often, and I think Josh probably has seen this, I'm guessing, often overlooked in mental health is the physical aspects of that. It's whether it's anemia, whether it's, a person just came out of a health crisis, big life changes. The first thing usually is just a mental health disorder, not looking at the underlying health
Yes.
problems. Big
Especially
one
with
is,
invisible.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that in there that, I mean, pain is a huge element to that, which they still don't seem to factor in.
No. Did you have a character you'd want to see in the second edition, villain or
I,
superhero?
I think I loved the character he had. And I am, I am not a very creative, person like, able to take, what's the word? I would like, I always like redemption. I always like, I'm the weird person who likes it when the villain, like there's not really a villain, but there's someone who you can understand sometimes
Yeah.
and connect to. So I always love that. But I even understand. I think he does an excellent job with his characters, and I can't wait to see what he does next.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give him I'm gonna let him pick. But
Okay.
I will second Josh as an option for a villain. If Josh is okay with that. I don't see Josh as a villain, but if
100%.
if
But
Josh
he
would
could be a
like to,
redeemable villain
oh, there we
Yes.
go. There we go. If
There we
Josh
go.
wants
or
to,
a
as
You can
long as
add
either
arc to
superhero
my
with a
story.
villainous side.
look, look, for all the Disney lawyers out there that with I'm not in this. I'm not involved. You know.
Rachel.
I would love to see somebody that's not schizophrenic, psychosis be um, be shown, and someone with psychosis that is not a villain. And even if Josh, you're shown as a villain because of your back pain, which I have chronic spine pain. Um, I would love for them to be a redemptive villain because I think I'm most tired of being villainized because I went through chemical psychosis and I have fibromyalgia and lupus and I was in this accident. I would love to see no villains with disabilities. That I would love to see that, you know, nobody's villainized.
Yeah. Well, and I think that goes back to Joseph's, what you were saying is I it makes it such a learning lesson if there is a quote unquote villain, but
Yes.
there's a redemption. And it's not even necessarily a redemption. We understand why they're behaving the way they are, and that could help, like would be beautiful with angry Josh, to understand angry Josh gets angry because he's in pain and he's, and and if we weren't being so restrictive with, you know, um yeah,
Yeah, and it's not angry
not to be
Josh.
judgmental. Yeah.
Yeah, angry Josh isn't angry at that person. It's not
Yeah. He's
personal.
angry at the pain.
Yep.
That's the thing that I have seen so often in my life, that it's like, you know, people around me are taking my pain threshold personal. And
Yeah.
it's not personal. It has zero to do with you. And also the tone of my voice sometimes is just the tone of my voice. And you know what? That's also not personal. I mean, being a woman, we we get harped on about our tone of voice all the time. And
Yeah.
sometimes I just want to scream from the mountaintops. I talk loud. This is just my voice. Like, what am I supposed to do about that?
You're raised in theater and the arts. So, yeah, I
So
hear
here we
you.
go. I mean, so that's, yeah, I think just the educational aspect of his books is just very exciting. And
Yes.
I'm ready for the veil to be lifted and for people to see that, oh, this person has schizophrenia. They're not automatically evil,
Yeah, at all.
or this
But it's a
person,
very long word. So,
right.
it's a scary word,
But,
It's
People
yeah.
are
No, of
scared of what
course.
they don't know, which is
Right.
what comes back to the
Exactly.
educational point that you were talking about. Well,
No, and
thank
not to
you
make
guys.
light of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you guys. I'm so excited to have you on. I hope you guys listening and viewing enjoyed this discussion as much as I did. I can't wait to have more discussions with you. Um, did I even do that?
it's hard with my
It's
hands.
like, "Arr." But uh, thank
Here,
you,
I'll do the
and um. For those listening and viewing, we have some exciting October episodes up. Um, October is Dysautonomia Awareness Month. What are you doing, Joseph?
I have no idea. That was
I
not me.
I just learned about the reactions, so now I got to do it.
Now you got excited. So ADHD.
Yeah,
Um,
with
so
effects.
so we have. Let me do the closing beep. It's gonna be so hard to edit. Um, so October is Dysautonomia Awareness Month. It includes conditions like orthostatic hypotension, POTS, and long COVID. And we have Mary Ladd from long COVID, from the long COVID reader and long COVID publishing, and to talk about her book, which has essays, poems, writings from people with long COVID and POTS. And then we have uh, at the end of the month, we will have Dr. Jeffrey Boris discussing a pot specialist, discussing his latest research on pots that has just been published. So stay tuned for these exciting episodes. For more information about ripple effects, you can visit www.fanbasepress.com, and we'll have that information on our website as well, www.speakinginspoons. If you have any ideas for episodes or things that you would like to hear, or if you would like to interview and tell us about your condition and what your experience is like, please contact us. Thank you so much. Save your spoons.
If you want to contact us, please send a DM or email to speakinginspoons@gmail.com with any stories you have or would like to interview with us on any of our upcoming topics. And check out our website for all of our upcoming episodes and what's happening in the Speaking in Spoons community at www.speakinginspoons.com. Thank you for listening to Speaking in Spoons, and have a great day.